Today, I'm going to be offering a review of the Full Focus Planner, a product produced by Michael Hyatt and his company. And this is the original version of the Full Focus Planner. Since they created this version, they have put out new versions, professional model as well, ones with leather cover and different colored covers as well. It's a fairly good sized planner. It's about 6 3/16 wide by about 9 1/4 inches long. And it is fairly good size. There's 301 pages listed. Well, 304 if you include the resources page. But it's a nice journal. I've used it for probably a year and a half, something like that. It gives you a place to put your name, contact information, and the year and the quarter. This is a quarterly journal, so it covers 3 months, and Michael Hyatt's company will allow you to sign up for a yearly plan and will ship you each quarter's journal about a month or so before the quarter begins. One of the nice things about Michael Hyatt's planner here is it does give you some information about how to start out using this planner. They're at fullfocusplanner.com/start. They give you some video coaching, online guidebook, as well as a private community that you can connect with if you have questions about the journal or how people are using it. Gives you some basically easy to follow steps to how to set up your planner. And then the journal itself has a number of useful parts to it. Basically, they have great quotes spread throughout the journal, not only in these like beginning pages of each section, but also on the daily pages, smaller quote up the top. I'll show you that in a moment. It gives you encouragement to start by listing your annual goals, giving goal statements, and their introductory material gives you coaching on how to go about doing that. But it gives you a place for a number of goals, but it also a place to record what quarter you intend to complete the goal. And then it gives you more details, up to 10 pages for 10 goals that you can fill in as you're heading through your planning process. It goes through a procedure that Michael's laid out in his books and preparatory material. Gives you encouragement to write a smarter goal. Now, you've probably heard of SMART goals, but Michael updates that a little bit with a smarter goal. Each letter in the word smarter has a specific meaning, and you'll have to go to his material to get information about that. But encourages you to consider whether you're working on an achievement goal or a habit goal. If you're wanting to build a habit, there's a procedure for doing that. And if you're also wanting to accomplish something that may be a one-time big event, you identify which type of goal it is, because the way you approach it may be a little different. And then to identify what domain of your life this is coming from, whether it's spiritual, parental, intellectual, social, emotional, vocational, physical, avocational, marital, or financial. And then list your key motivations, the first steps that you need to take in order to reach your goal. And then how do you celebrate when you've achieved it? And at the bottom, it gives these habit trackers for each month of the quarter, month 1, month 2, month 3, and 31 days a day for every block for every day in the month, in case the month goes up to 31. And then you check off your progress. Especially helpful, it says, for habit goals. So that's the 10 goals that you can identify. Most people are probably not going to work on 10 goals in a quarter, but gives you the chance to track those if you would like. Then the next part of the journal goes to monthly calendars. It has a standard template here that you can fill in for yourself. It does lay out with Sunday, which traditionally has been the first day of the week, at the end. But a lot of people do the planning starting their week on Monday. So that's probably a good format for a lot of folks. Gives you also in the bottom here, has places to track daily habits and so forth that you'd like to check off if you would like to record it in this location. So there's the 3 months for each quarter that are in this layout with a 2-page spread for the monthly calendar. And then it gives you a year's worth of pages for rolling quarters. So it gives you the opportunity to plan ahead. So, for instance, I'm recording this in January of 2021. I'm glad to be past 2020. But as I lay this one out, I'll basically provide January, February, March, and then start here following April, May, June. So each of these columns would be a month: April, May, June, and then the day of the month down here on the left side. And you'd list the quarter and the year. So then July, uh, after you do April, May, June, July, August, September, etc. So you would finish up then a whole year's worth of advanced planning. Now, this is not a lot of room to identify things for a particular day out for the year. But most of the time, when you're planning for a year in advance, you're looking at big items. So major appointments, trips, those kinds of things, conferences, and so forth that are going to be on your calendar in advance. You just need to be aware of them as you then transfer the information you record here about things that pop up into the next quarter. So those, once you migrate to a new journal for the new quarter, you take things that are in this section here and then apply it to the monthly calendar once you get to that quarter that it's the thing is scheduled in. So past those rolling quarters, then there's a two-page spread for daily rituals. Michael basically challenges you to begin to establish some rituals in your life and suggests what do you do when you first get up? Many times you make or break the day depending on how you choose to begin that day. And he suggests you think of things like, are you beginning with meditation, a spiritual routine of some kind? How do you plan for the day, prepare for the day? And then once you get to work, how do you start your day at work? Sometimes we just jump right into email and our day goes downhill from there. So he suggests that there may be a better way to start your work day. And so take some time to focus on, your goals, put the big goals in first rather than letting the tyranny of the urgent mess up your day at the very beginning. He also suggests a weekday shutdown ritual and gives you some time to think about a place to consider and write down how you want to shut down the day that kind of sets you up for success the next day. And then the evening ritual. Many times, how your morning goes may depend on how your evening went. So he challenges us to set up an evening routine to help you prepare for the next day, whether that's just as simple as making sure that you set a time to start winding down, maybe a time to read or journal at the end of the day, or even preparing your lunch for the next day. Just simple things like that that may help you set up your day for success. Then he also challenges you to set up an ideal week. Obviously, a lot of people's weeks are different. You're not going to have something consistent every week. But if you could plan your week out, how would you do it? So it encourages you to identify what are your priorities for most weeks and to put those items already in. Now, one of the ways that that's helpful is if you kind of already schedule in time for your priorities, then when someone comes to you with a request to fill your time with their agenda, you can look at your advanced plan and say, well, I've already got something scheduled for that. How about we put it, and you can put it wherever it's convenient for you so that you're leading your own schedule and not letting others to schedule your time for you, if you have that flexibility in your schedule. But anyway, this is a good way to plan that and to stage that out. And then it gets into, by page 30, we get into the meat of the journal, which is the daily plan. Now, it's plenty of space for most people, a two-page spread. And here at the beginning, it gives you a look at the number of weeks remaining in the quarter. So as you begin the quarter, you've got 13 weeks. And then it gives you a place to put the date, the month, day, and year. And then just a check point for whether or not you've done your morning ritual, your workday startup, your workday shutdown, your evening ritual. And one of the things that Michael emphasizes is each day setting up your big three goals. So what are the three most important tasks that you need to accomplish that day, that if you got those things done, you'd feel like you were a success in that day? And then there's plenty of room here for a list of other tasks. And then he has some suggested ways to signify the importance or the status of those items, whether that's a check mark for being done, a slash for indicating they're waiting for someone else or some other information, a circle for delegation, an arrow for deferring, and an X for deleting. So you have options to put those signifiers in one of these columns here at the left, and obviously in the circles here you can identify that. Then there's this column here that basically gives you a place to put scheduled events from 6 a.m. and actually there's a section before the 6 a.m. Clock, 6 o'clock item, so something, anything above, before 6 a.m. and always goes down then to 8 p.m. and place for that, and sometimes there's even space in the margin. There's a quote for the day that can begin your day, help you something positive to think about. They're not all quotes from Michael, but a number of authors that are listed, and then a place for notes, and then a suggested item for this column could be for if you're listing items of to-dos, maybe the time that is needed for it, or the time that it's accomplished, or the time you need to start something. And then there's a key for suggested signifiers to go in this left column over here. To-dos, a box, suggested a box, a circle for delegate, a star for important, and a question mark for a question. But a good full page available for notes that makes this very useful. Obviously, then it goes through each day of the week, and it's one thing is nice about it. It gives you a full two-page spread for Saturday and for Sunday. Now, some folks may not find that useful since they may want to use this just for work and they may not work the weekends. But for folks whose schedule is maybe not consistent, or folks who work the weekends, this may be very helpful to you. And then at the end of each week, you have a weekly preview. Now, that name is a little bit of a misnomer because it's also a weekly review plus then a preview for the next one. It gives you again the weeks remaining in the quarter, place for the date that you did the review. Step one, what's your biggest win? Suggest you list 3 to 5 major accomplishments from the past week. Then step two, your after action review. And they suggest that you look at your last week's big three. If you're just beginning it, you could look at each day's big three and ask yourself, how far did you get? And then a column where it suggests you put in the percentage of completion for each of those big three. Then a way to evaluate your work was what worked and what didn't. So you kind of evaluate how did I do? Did things work well, or was there a problem? And then some lessons to learn. What will you keep, improve, start, or stop doing? So you try to learn from your experience and incorporate that into your next week. Then on this page, the step 3 is your list sweep. So go back through your lists, all of the things that you wrote down in your to-do list, your big three, or your other tasks during the week, and add any of those that you didn't complete to your task manager, which I believe I've used it down here. And then are there any delegated tasks, maybe tasks that haven't been assigned, or what are the status updates that you need to track? And then just review your daily notes. And if there's anything that you pick up in your review of the daily notes that you want to add to your task manager, to do that. Step 4 then is a weekly overview, and you begin here to list important events, deadlines, and tasks for the coming week. So you can use the weekly view on the next page if it's helpful. But here it suggests a breakdown between personal and professional events, deadlines, and tasks. So here's just a place to collect all the stuff that you've been working on that is left over, that have not been completed, your next actions, if you're using GTD method, getting things done method, you list your next actions for your projects and so forth in your personal life and professional life. And this is this has been helpful for me to just kind of go back and glean through all the stuff that I was working on this past week, pull out the ones that I still need to track and still need to work on. And so you're pulling out the things that are left undone and begin to put them here, so you begin to identify them and maybe even prioritize them at that point. Here, the next page in your weekly review gives you a chance to kind of do an overview of the upcoming week. Now, it does split the last 2 days here into columns, so you don't have full width for Saturday and Sunday. But again, if your work week is Monday through Friday, that's probably sufficient for you. But it gives you a chance to kind of lay out your week. Okay, what's coming up, and kind of get a good look at it. And then the journal challenges you to set up what are your three objectives to advance your goals and projects this week. So, what are the three big things you would like to accomplish? And the idea is for you to refer to the goals that you set back here at the beginning of the journal, taking a look at your annual goals or your quarterly goals, and pull out what are the big three, what are the main things that you would want to accomplish in that coming week. What are the steps you would want to work on, and lay those out so that the idea is that you're always working on your goals. You're always working on your projects to make sure you're making progress on them. And this is a weekly review to make sure what are my goals, where am I headed, what are the goals that I need to be wanting to accomplish this year, this quarter, and begin to work on those. Step number 6 is a self-care plan, and I think that in the newest version of the Full Focus Journal, they may have changed this, but this is helpful just to kind of keep it in mind. It's a good reminder for me. But basically, self-care. What are you doing to care for yourself? It encourages you to brainstorm and then schedule rejuvenation on the daily pages. So, what are your sleep goals? What are you planning to do as far as eating? Are there healthy goals that you want to set for your food? Move goals, so just exercise goals, those kind of things. Connections, so connections with other people, interpersonal connections. Obviously, that's been perhaps a challenge during the COVID season, but still, being intentional about connecting with other people can be very helpful to you. And then the goal for relaxation, trying to include some time for relaxation into your schedule as well. So that's basically the week, and then it just repeats. And again, it begins moving the little highlight farther in the quarter as you go along. So each week basically follows that same format. So Monday, through Sunday, and then a weekly preview, which is a review and a preview of the next. So that continues through, and just highlight here. You'll find in the journal two ribbons that will be as place markers. Sometimes I've used one to set it for my annual or the goals for the year or the quarter, and so it's an easy reference place, and then also track where I am in the quarter where I'm filling out the journal. So once you go through all of those weekly previews, daily pages, and the weekly pages, you get all the way down to the end, and there's 281 goes to page 281 for all of the quarterly, weekly, and daily and weekly pages. You then get to a quarterly preview, which is kind of the similar format to the weekly. It reviews your biggest wins of the quarter, looking at your goals, how far did you get on them, what worked, what didn't, and then planning what will you keep doing, what will improve, what start doing, what will you stop doing. This is an expanded section compared to the weekly review. And then it encourages you to go through life plan review, annual goal review, monthly calendar review, and begin scheduling your next quarter's big items. An ideal weekly review. So go back and tweak the plan you made for your ideal week based on your experience. And then your daily rituals, tweak those based on your experience the past quarter. And then begin filling. It encourages you to take your new planner, begin filling out dates in your new planner. So that's the quarterly review, and then there's a number of notes pages. I think there's four. Let's know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 pages of notes that you can. They're at the back of the journal, beginning with probably page 285, 286. This some might consider 285 just a place to write down things from the quarterly review that may need to capture, but at least 10 pages of notes, and then some pages for sketching as well. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages for sketching, and there's a pattern there printed in this as well. So there's little boxes made out of dots, and hopefully you can see those dots there in the video. So pages for sketches, and then index pages. There's 2 index pages. Gives you an opportunity then to write down a topic. Like if you used note pages somewhere in the journal for a specific topic, you could record that. So it's a quick way to find information that you've written down and a place to record the page numbers for that. So that's pages 302, 303. And then at the end, he gives some resources that Michael Hyatt has produced, like things like Your Best Year Ever, Free to Focus book, Living Forward, Focus Leader, and Business Accelerator. Those items are listed there as well. By the way, this is a personal review. I paid for this journal myself. I'm not getting any kickbacks or uh, uh, money from Michael Hyatt. No benefits for making this review of this journal, just for my own personal use and helping out others that have questions. There is a nice little pocket here at the back of the journal as well, that you can keep things that you've picked up, receipts and so forth. And there's a elastic a strip there at the back to help that close up. There's no pin loop on it, but I have used a Pilot friction erasable pen, and that's actually a nice little pen. It works well. Erasing it works well in this journal as well. And I've usually just clipped it on the top like that, and that's worked well for me. I've used it for a number of quarters, and it's held up well. And this pen has held up well. This is actually a refill ink cartridge in it that has come in handy. So that's a good layout of it. I've got an old copy here. Let me just show you with this pen. So that's an example of the how that friction pen. It's the 0.7, and it's a fine tip, and basically you're not seeing really any bleed through, but you are seeing the well, maybe you can see a little bit of it, but it doesn't bother me. And it is a fine tip, so sometimes you can feel the impression on the paper, but it fairly holds up fairly well. Let me just show you with just a ballpoint pen, and how that looks in initial. Just a slight bit of ghosting, but it's not bad. Some folks might find that a problem. And let me try with one more pen. Here is a Staedtler fine liner, and I'll use the black since that's probably one that tends to ghost more than others. I'm not putting in my handwriting for any awards, but so all of those held up pretty well in about the same level of ghosting for each of those pens. So it's worked out well for me. All right. Hopefully that helps you to think about how you might want to, if you wanted to use and order a full focus planner. And hope you have a great day. And if you decide to use it, I hope it fulfills the purpose for you that it has for me in helping me stay better organized, thinking about my goals and planning ahead for them, and keeping those in mind on a weekly and quarterly basis. Thank you very much.